My fiancé said. I signed you up for that cheater show. I replied. Should be boring then. Then I called the producer, handed over her passcode, approved a surprise pivot, and drove to the confrontation as the cameras followed me right to the man she'd been seeing behind my back. Welcome back to AF Tales. In today's story, we explore what happened when a man's fiancée signed him up for a cheating reality show, only for the cameras to uncover her own affair instead. As you listen, notice the moment where you would have walked away. I was 35, engaged and making breakfast when my fiancée walked into the kitchen grinning at her phone like she had just pulled off something clever. Guess what I did, she said. That smile should have warned me. We had been together 3 years, engaged for 8 months, with the wedding 4 months away. I should have known that expression meant trouble. What? Remember that show Exposed, the one that catches cheaters? My stomach dropped a little. Yeah. I signed us up. Well, I signed you up. The film crew starts following you tomorrow morning at 6. They'll be with you for a whole week. I put down the spatula and just looked at her. Why would you do that? Because you're always working late, always on your phone, always dealing with emergencies. I need to know the truth. The truth was simple. I was a project manager at a software company. Late nights were part of the job. She had known that since the day we met, but she was thrilled with herself. The crew starts tomorrow at 6, she said again. They follow you everywhere for 7 days. Then we film the big reveal where I get to see all the footage. You're serious. Dead serious. I already signed the contracts. It's locked in. Something clicked in my head right then. People do not usually go from mild suspicion to public humiliation that fast unless something else is going on underneath. So I said, should be boring then, I've never cheated. She actually giggled. We'll see. Then she left for yoga. I stood in the kitchen for maybe 2 minutes after the door closed. Then I grabbed my phone, searched for the production company, and called them. A receptionist answered. Hi, I said. My fiancé just signed me up for your show Exposed. I'm apparently being followed starting tomorrow. Oh yes, she said. We have your case file. That phrase alone was enough to make me tired. She submitted evidence of suspicious behavior, the receptionist added. She seemed very concerned. Right, I said. So here's my question. If she can sign me up to be investigated without my knowledge, can I do the same to her? There was a pause. That's an unusual request. I'll volunteer everything, I said. My phone, my laptop, my work calendar, my emails, full transparency, but I want the same from her. Fair is fair. She transferred me to a producer named Rick. You want us to investigate your fiancé too? He asked. In addition, I said. She thinks I'm cheating. I'm not, but she's been acting strange for months, more secretive with her phone, new gym routine, yoga classes at odd times. I think she's projecting, accusing me of what she's actually doing. He was quiet for a second. If we found evidence of her cheating, he asked, would you consent to us filming the confrontation? Absolutely, I said. She signed me up for television. She gets what she signed up for. He hesitated again. We'd need access to her phone. She keeps the passcode in our shared notes app, I said. Cloud backup too. I can send you everything, but I want it to be a surprise. This is highly irregular. So is ambushing your fiancé with a camera crew, I said. Check her phone. If I'm wrong, I look paranoid. If I'm right, you get a better episode than filming me in meetings all week. Rick laughed. Send me the information. So I did. Passcode, cloud access, car GPS history, all of it. Then I texted my fiancé. Hey babe, I'm totally fine with the show, nothing to hide. This should be boring. She wrote back almost immediately. See, that's what I wanted to hear. Love you. That night, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up on the counter with a text preview from Danny Jim. Thursday night still good. My place at 10. Thursday was my actual late night at work, the one she always complained about, the one she apparently used to visit somebody else. I took a photo of the preview and sent it to Rick. He replied with one line. Oh, this is going to be good. The crew showed up Sunday morning at 6 sharp. Camera operator, sound guy, and Rick. My fiancée was almost vibrating with excitement. She made them coffee and talked about how relieved she would be to finally know the truth. Rick smiled at her and said, "Truth is definitely coming." Before filming started, they handed us updated consent forms. She signed without reading. I read every line. There was language about any party involved, evidence uncovered during filming, and full rights to air what they found. That mattered later. Sunday was painfully boring. They filmed me doing laundry, grocery shopping, watching football, and answering work emails. Monday was more of the same. They came with me to the office, sat through meetings, watched me eat a sad salad at my desk, and filmed me staying late to finish a deadline. At around 5, my fiancé texted me, "Anything interesting happening?" I wrote back, "Just work, told you it'd be boring." Tuesday, Rick pulled me aside during lunch. "We went through her phone," he said. My heart started pounding, and it's a guy named Danny, personal trainer at her gym. They've been together 7 months. They meet at his apartment every Thursday night and Sunday mornings during her yoga classes. 7 months. That was more than half our engagement. Then he showed me screenshots. They were worse than I expected. There were explicit texts, planning texts, logistics. But there was something uglier too. Messages about my money, my salary, my parents, my future inheritance. She had been talking to him about marrying me, divorcing me a year later, and walking away with as much money as she could manage. Rick handed me his phone and let me read one. He makes $140 and his parents are loaded. Once we're married, I can divorce him in a year and get my share. Another, the wedding is already paid for and his family will give us cash gifts. I'm thinking at least $50 in wedding money. Another, his 401k is huge. I'd be stupid not to lock this in. I felt physically sick. This is where the story stops being just about cheating. It becomes something colder. Betrayal is one thing. Planning to use someone like a financial strategy is another. Rick watched my face. "There's a lot more," he said. "We want to confront her Thursday night at Danny's apartment. You in?" "Yes," I said. "Good, because she's going to lose it." Wednesday, the crew followed me through another perfectly dull workday. My fiancé texted, almost teasing, "They're finding nothing, aren't they?" "Lol," I replied, "told you I'm boring." She wrote back, "The week's not over yet." No, it wasn't. Thursday came. I went to work like normal. The crew pretended they were getting filler footage around the apartment and my office schedule. Around 9 that night, Rick texted me. "We're set up at Danny's. She's on her way. You coming?" "Wouldn't miss it," I wrote back. Danny lived in an apartment complex on the north side of town. When I got there, the crew was already in position. One camera operator was inside Danny's place. Another was in the stairwell. Rick handed me an earpiece. "You'll hear everything. Come up when I text you." I asked him how they got Danny to cooperate. "Told him we're filming a fitness segment," Rick said. "He thinks he's going to be on TV talking about training." At 947, her car pulled in. I watched from mine as she walked up the stairs, knocked, and smiled when he opened the door. Through the earpiece I heard him say, "Hey, babe." Then she laughed softly and stepped inside. A second later, chaos. Rick and the camera crew came around the corner. "We're here from Exposed," Rick said. "You two seem to know each other pretty well." My fiancé's voice went sharp and panicked. "What is this?" Rick didn't even blink. "This is the show you signed up for, the one that catches cheaters. Congratulations, you're the cheater." She immediately tried the obvious defense. "I didn't consent to this." "Actually, you did," Rick said. "It's in your contract. Any evidence of infidelity discovered during the investigation may be used for the episode." Then my phone buzzed. Now Rick texted. I got out of my car and walked up the stairs. The camera swung toward me. My fiancé turned and saw me and went white. "What are you doing here?" "Surprise," I said. "I called the show after you signed me up, told them to check your phone instead." Danny stepped forward and raised his hands. "Bro, I swear I didn't know you two were." "Shut up, Danny." Rick pulled out a tablet. "We have 7 months of messages, 312 texts, 43 meetings at this location, and some very clear plans involving his income, a future divorce, and wedding gifts." He turned the screen toward her. She saw her own texts. Her face collapsed. "This isn't fair," she said. "You tricked me." "No," I said. "You tried to trick me. I just had the receipts." Then she did something incredible. She turned to Danny and said, tell him we're in love." Danny looked like he wanted to vanish into the floor. "I mean," he said, "I didn't know you were still getting married. You said you were leaving him." "I am leaving him for you." He took one step backward. "Yeah," he said, "I don't think this is going to work." Then he closed the door in her face. Honestly, if the whole thing had not been such a mess, it might have been funny. She pounded on his door for a second, then spun back toward me and switched to blame. "This is your fault. You're never home. You don't pay attention to me. You drove me to this." I looked at her and said, "I drove you to plan a wedding while texting another man about divorcing me for money. That's impressive driving." Tears, panic, more blame. "I love you." "You love my salary," I said. "There's a difference." Then I turned around, went back to my car, and drove home. Rick called 10 minutes later. "That was amazing television," he said. "The episode airs in 2 weeks." "Great," I said. "I'm also single." "Better than married to that." He wasn't wrong. Sunday morning I changed the locks, locksmith at 7, new keys by 9. At 11, she showed up with her mother and sister. I had my brother there too, mostly to make sure things stayed calm and documented. She pounded on the door. I opened it with the chain still on. "You have 3 hours to get your things," I said. Her mother stepped forward immediately. "You can't do this. She lives here." "She is not on the lease," I said. "This is my apartment. I'm allowing her to collect her belongings, that's all. She has rights." "Not to my apartment, she doesn't." I let them in. My brother stood near the door recording everything on his phone. Her sister started in almost immediately. "You're such an..." I cut her off. "She made one mistake, right? 7 months and 312 texts is not one mistake. It is a long series of choices." My ex was crying while she packed. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Danny's place seemed available," I said. "He won't answer my calls." "Shocking." Her mother tried a softer tone then. "She's scared. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive her?" I took out my phone and showed her screenshots, the messages about my money, the messages about the divorce plan, the messages about wedding gifts. Her mother looked at the screen and went quiet. That is usually how it goes. People are very brave when they only know the version that protects the liar. A little later, while her mother and sister were loading boxes, my ex came over and lowered her voice. "I'm sorry. Really sorry. I was stupid and scared and I made terrible choices. Can we talk alone?" "No. You're not even going to try. You weren't trying when you were sleeping with Danny. You weren't trying when you were planning to marry me and leave with my money. That is not confusion. That is a plan. It wasn't fraud. You were literally describing the math in your texts." My brother called from the doorway. "Time's up." They loaded the last boxes. At the door, she turned and gave me one last line. "You'll regret this when you're alone and realize what you threw away." I said, "I'm not the one who threw this away. You are." Then I closed the door. The week after that was chaos. She started texting from different numbers. I blocked all of them. Her mother called my parents, which went badly for her. My mom is protective in a way that becomes very clear very quickly. According to my dad, her mom said I was cruel and heartless. My mom told her, "Your daughter cheated on him for 7 months and planned to marry him for his money." Her mom tried to soften it. She was working on herself. My mom said, "She was working on someone named Danny at his apartment every Thursday." I love my mother. Then my ex showed up at my office. Building security called and said there was a woman in the lobby claiming to be my fiancée and refusing to leave. I went downstairs. She was crying in front of strangers. "Please," she said, "just 5 minutes, let me explain." "There is nothing left to explain," I said. "You cheated. You plan to use me. It's over." Then she asked for the one thing she actually cared about. "The show airs tomorrow. Please call them and stop it. I'll do anything." "You signed the forms," I said. "I can't stop it. You did this." "No, you did this. You just thought you'd be the hero of the episode." Security escorted her out. When I got back upstairs, my boss called me into his office. I explained everything and showed him the messages. He leaned back and said, "Damn, good thing you found out before the wedding." Then he told me to take the rest of the day and get my head straight. The episode aired Thursday night. I watched it with my parents and my brother. It was brutal. They showed the footage of me being painfully boring all week. Work meetings, grocery shopping, laundry. Then they showed her messages to Danny. The plans, the money talk, the future divorce strategy, the confrontation at his apartment, him shutting the door in her face. And then they showed texts Rick had not even shown me before. To her best friend, "I'm going to milk this marriage for everything. His family has money and he's too stupid to make me sign a prenup." Another one, 2 more months until the wedding, then I just wait a year. My dad muted the television and just stared. She really said all that. My mom was crying a little. "Oh, honey," I told her, "I know, but I didn't marry her. That's what matters." The episode went viral almost immediately. Over 1 million views online in a few days. My phone started lighting up with messages from old coworkers, old friends, cousins, people I had not talked to in years. Then she called from a new number and I answered. "What?" "My life is ruined," she said. "Everyone knows I lost my job. You lost your job." They said public moral scandals reflect badly on the company. "This is your fault." "No," I said. "This is the result of your own choices." Then I hung up and blocked that number too. 6 weeks later, everything looked different. She had moved back in with her parents. Danny had lost his gym job and left the state. She tried to sue the show and got nowhere because she had signed the consent forms herself. She tried to sue me for public humiliation, and that got tossed almost immediately. Apparently, the judge told her something close to the truth. You cannot sue someone for consequences you created with your own choices. Her mother sent a cease and desist to my parents. My dad's lawyer replied with what was basically, "Truth is not slander. Have a nice day." The engagement ring became its own headache. It cost me $6,200. She refused to give it back. My lawyer told me it might cost more to chase than it was worth, so I sent one formal demand letter and stopped there. She had already sold it online for $3,500 and sent a photo to prove she no longer had it. That probably will not help her if court ever comes back around. Work, oddly enough, went well. I got promoted 2 months after the episode aired. My boss said I had handled a public disaster with a calm head and good judgment. Strange compliment, but I took it. I went on a few dates. That part was weird. Women either thought the whole thing was hilarious and that I had protected myself well, or they thought I had gone too far. Not much middle ground. Then I met someone at a friend's barbecue. She had never heard of the show. After she later Googled me and found the episode, she texted, "Just watched it. Your ex is insane, want to get coffee." We had been seeing each other for a few weeks after that, slowly, carefully. I also started therapy. That helped. My therapist told me something useful. I had real trust issues now, but also good boundaries. Fair enough. One more piece stayed with me, though. A few weeks after the episode, I ran into my ex's best friend in a coffee shop. She glared at me and said, "You know she tried to kill herself, right?" That hit hard. I asked if she was okay. The friend said no and blamed me. I left shaken and called my therapist from the parking lot. "Did I go too far?" I asked. My therapist walked me through it calmly. Did I force her to cheat? No. Did I force her to plan a marriage around money and future divorce? No. Did I force her to sign up for a reality show? No. Then no, I had not gone too far. That conversation helped, even though it still sat heavy for a while, because here is the truth. I did love her. Before all of this, I was excited to marry her. The betrayal hurt. The public part hurt too. But what hurt most was realizing I had not been seen as a partner. I had been seen as an asset, a plan, a paycheck. That changes a person. Still, life moved. I replaced the furniture she had picked, repainted the apartment, donated what she left behind. My home started to feel like mine again. Some nights I do wonder whether I should have just ended it privately. That thought shows up now and then. But then I remember what she was planning. A marriage built on lies followed by a calculated exit for money. The show did not ruin her life. Her choices did. I just made sure the camera was pointed in the right direction when the truth showed up. And now, honestly, I'm okay. Not perfectly healed. Not untouched, but actually okay. That is a better outcome than marrying someone who looked at me and saw an investment portfolio instead of a husband. A month after the episode, Rick sent me a fruit basket with a card that said, "Thanks for the Emmy nomination." That part still feels ridiculous. But I guess if your life is going to become a cautionary tale, it might as well be a useful one. There are a few clear lessons in this story. Lesson 1. If someone tries to humiliate you publicly while claiming they just want the truth, pay attention to the control behind it. Lesson 2. Sudden cheating accusations can sometimes be confession by projection. Lesson 3. A partner who talks about your money more than your future is not building a life with you. They are running numbers on you. Lesson 4. Calm evidence beats loud arguing almost every time. Lesson 5. It is okay to protect yourself, even if the other person does not like the consequences. Lesson 6. Do not marry someone who sees commitment as a strategy instead of a promise. What would you have done if your fiancé signed you up for a cheating reality show? And do you think he was right to turn the cameras back on her, or should he have handled it privately instead?